views expressed on this program are those of the hosts, guests, and callers, and are not necessarily those of this station, its management, or other advertisers. You're listening to Transformation Talk Radio.
Hi, welcome. This is Dr. John DeMartini. This is one of the most amazing and inspiring shows that you can listen into. If you want to be on the edge of your seats, if you want to open up your heart, if you want to expand your mind, and you want to meet incredible people, stay tuned because you're just about to experience a transformative radio show that will change your life. And you're listening to the Dr. Pat Show that's coming up right next.
Welcome to the Dr. Pat Show. Talk radio to thrive by. Powerful, inspiring, and coming to you live, bringing you stories of people like you and me, busting through and living life full out. Get ready to dare to wonder what your life would be like if you knew you could not fail. Hey, everybody. Wow. It is so great connecting with all of you. Thank you for tuning us in and turning us on. We got a great show. I'm so excited about this show today. Full house, as we like to talk about it. Right, Mr. Benny?
Yeah, for me, for sure. Not for you. You're still in the confines of like your little comfy-dumpy little area there. Not me. This is great.
There we go. I know. Yeah, exactly. I'm in my own little studio so that I can make sure that you're pushing all the right buttons, Benny.
Well, you say that now, so now I have to be on 100% of my game.
You do.
I always am.
You do have to be on 100% of your game. Well, we have a great show for everybody out there. Hacking the Hero's Journey with 3 incredible people. And you know how I'm going to introduce these folks today, Benny? And now you've heard me do this a couple times when we've had a full house. One of the things that I love to do is for the listeners to actually get to meet folks up close and personal. And so I would like all of our listeners to welcome this amazing trio. They're going to tell you not only about who they are, but what their passion is, their gifts, their talents, and what the message is. So throughout this show today, you're going to be hearing about here's where we are today and here's where we're going. And what does this mean, hacking the hero's journey? What does that mean? But before we get started, I want to welcome all of you to the show. Welcome, you guys. It's great to have you here.
It's great to be here. It's great to be here.
Yeah, now we're going to get them all warmed up. Here's the question I would love to ask each of you as we're getting started. What I think is so important for us to share is about the hero's journey for each of us. And so I've got a question for each of you. What is the hero journey that you are on today? And how does this journey tap into the gifts of who you are? And so I'd love for you to introduce yourselves. And then we get to hear what the hero journey is for you today. Who's going to kick us off?
I guess I'll kick us off, Dr. Pat. This is Leah Ayley here. And wow, that is a big question. That's a huge question. But I think, the hero's journey, I guess, that I'm on today is helping other people with their journeys while I continue to walk my own. I've had a lot of experience in my life. Some of it's been through training and some of it's just been through life experience. I've been through some difficult places. I've come out the other side, and now my work is really helping other people to make that journey as I continue to go further on my own, because I think that the journey really never ends. We're all on the path of growth and transformation and development, and some of us are called to that path consciously, and those are really the people who are on the hero's journey, the people who know that they're on a path and they're maybe trying to find out what the signposts are and how to navigate it in the most skillful way, and that's what I really hope that our show will help with, and that's what my work helps with too.
Well, thank you for talking about that, because we're going to talk about what the work is, and we're going to talk about the show and the title and, what it's come to mean. And that's what we're so excited about, is how do we share the breadth and the depth of what our soul is calling us to do in this moment. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much for sharing that. Who would love to go next?
I'll go next. This is Francis.
Francis, this is good. So you got a little reprieve by not going first. So now the bar has been raised here for you.
Right. Well, hacking the hero's journey for me, I've actually got a definition of hacking, which I wrote down this morning from the Wikipedia, and it's this. Hacking entails some form of excellence. For example, exploring the limits of what is possible, thereby doing something exciting and meaningful. And that really sums it up for me. I like to live my life in excellence. I like to explore the limits of what is possible and what I'm capable of doing. And if there's a theme to my life, it's pushing against my limits and my restrictions. And I love to help people find ways to transcend their limits and their restrictions. So I think that's my hero's journey. That's summing it up.
Wow, this is really going to be exciting. I mean, this is exciting now because you three have decided to come together and, to form an energy. So each of you and what you're bringing to the forefront is, not just independent in itself, but now as you come together, you're interdependent. And so this is going to be exciting for the unfolding of this. So there's only one person left to answer this question, and then I got another juicy one for you.
Awesome, Dr. Pot. This is Ginny.
Hi, Ginny.
As I'm sitting here listening to Francis and Leah talk about their hero's journey, mine feels a little like it's been a little chaotic in my journey. So I started out with living that life with the white picket fence and the 3 kids and, doing all those things and just living life pretty so-called normal. And I feel like I'm a little bit of a late bloomer. And even though that's still part of the journey for me, I think it just started escalating and I got on this train and it started moving. And in a way, it feels like now there's no way I can stop it. I just have to keep moving forward. And I'm kind of like Francis. I like to have things that are a little exciting and out of the ordinary. And so that's been my journey, is just exploring these things that are so outside of myself that actually when most people look at what I do, they think it's really scary and that it takes a lot of courage and that I have no fear. But I have a lot of fear. I just really transcend that fear. And I find that by doing that, my life has been very exciting and very rewarding. And I've had the ability to, and actually the privilege of learning a lot about life and about myself. So
I love this. I am having so much fun already. I am so having so much fun already. And the reason I love this is because, what you all have done in coming together and creating, what I love to say is creating an energy that we're calling hacking the hero's journey, right? And the 3 of you have come forth. What I'm really struck by is the gifts and the talents. And so I would like to ask each of you this question here, and that's given the hero's journey that you see for yourselves, right? What are some of the challenges? What are some of the obstacles that you had to overcome to bring you to this very moment? And, you ready? What tools did you pick up along the way? Now here's what I like. This is where we start to point fingers. Who'd like to go first with that one?
Oh, I think I will. I've picked up so many tools, and I've done so much, and I've explored so many different arenas. Just to give you an idea, when I was 18, I started training in martial arts, and I also started practicing Buddhist meditation. And those 2 things, right when I was 18, transformed my life completely. And I'm still doing Buddhist meditation 42-something years later. Martial arts, not so much. I can't do what I used to do. But some of the other tools I've picked up on the way have been tarot, and I've had a full psychotherapy training back in the UK in humanistic and transpersonal psychotherapy and astrology, and I've taught most of these things at different points too. What's interesting, though, for me is that every time I encounter another challenge, I find I need to learn a new skill set, and so that's my pattern. That's what I do. So whenever I hit another point of transcendence, when I need to raise my consciousness, when I need to open my own horizons to fulfill my own vision, I tend to get into something completely different and crazy. Right now, that's Cambo. It's completely different and it's crazy.
And I love this. I love this because I have to tell you, like my latest little tagline is "Crazy is the new normal." I don't know why.
Nice.
I don't know why that I'm like into that little vibe right there. You know, probably I had a friend that said, "Oh, honey, you need psychotherapy." I mean, I don't know, but I love that. I love that idea. And we're going to talk about Cambo as well. But this is really where sometimes it takes a village to create the kind of change we want to see transcend in the world. And that's what I love about you guys coming together. It's like a little village. And so I'm excited about what we're talking about today and also what we're going to be talking about later on the show, so much that we're just going to skip the 15 break right now, probably skip the 45, because there is just so much that you all have to offer. Who would love to go next?
This is Ginny. I'll go next.
All right.
As I was just sitting here thinking about my life is probably more like the mass in that, we just go about living our lives the way culture has told us to live our lives until one day we just can't keep doing that. It's not fulfilling to us. We have this inner longing to do something else, to fulfill a passion within us. And sometimes we're not even really quite sure what that passion is. And for me, the hero's journey has been trying to explore exactly what that deep passion in me is and why I came here in the first place to this world. And so I'm constantly looking for my passion. And it really is a big journey, and it changes, it shifts. Sometimes I think it's here, and I'll go through that and wonder, well, why am I doing that? And it's not until later on I realize, oh, now I know why I'm doing that. It was a stepping stone to doing this, and I just keep taking another step and another step until I start seeing the picture form. And for me, also right now, it is Cambo. So that's my passion right now. I see how it can be so helpful for people. It's been extremely helpful for myself in expanding my own consciousness and in my own inner healing. And so that's my big passion right now.
I love it. And, I love what we talked about. I've often thought about my own life as, I don't know if you have ever had this growing up. I grew up on the East Coast, and anytime you go out like to a diner, we have diners that we go out to eat in, right? You sit at the table and the kids get this little picture, and they're given crayons, and they have to connect the dots, right? Or they have to connect whatever that is, so that when they're finished connecting them all, there's a picture of something. And, what's interesting is some kids know in advance what the picture is. Other kids don't. I was always the kid that didn't know in advance. And so that's what I'm hearing you say is we're on this hero's journey, connecting the dots. We know we need to connect the dots. We're not quite sure which dots to connect. Some we're going to connect through knowledge and information, others through intuition, and some people would say overall spirituality. So this is really exciting. We've got one more person to hear from.
Hi,
I bet you
Pat.
thought I forgot.
No, I was just waiting for you to call my name. Hi, Dr. Pat. This is Leah. And hi. I was thinking about what you said about the challenges that we've faced, because I grew up in an alcoholic family, which was challenging and also very confusing, because I'm an empath, and so I could always feel what was going on under the surface, but then on the surface it seemed like there was something else happening, which was incredibly difficult, and I didn't understand what was going on, and I basically just shut down. And although I had some therapy as a teen, I really had to leave my family. I actually had to leave the United States. I traveled to Europe. I ended up in the UK. I got very interested in healing and alternative approaches and spiritual healing, and eventually connected with a psychotherapy that really seemed to incorporate all of those things together, psychosynthesis, which led me on a whole journey of my own healing, of learning how to be of service to others. And then along the way, I met Francis, and we got married. We've been married now for over 25 years, and that has also been a part of my journey, because, there's a kind of alchemical effect being in a relationship where you're truly intimate with someone, where it isn't always easy by any means, but it changes you, and it changes you in a good way. It helps you to become more of who you are, and it helps, the friction when, parts of us rub up against each other. It helps us to kind of file down those rough points in our personality and become more of who we are. So that's also been a part of my journey, and it really feels like in my life, right from the beginning, I've been like, what's the truth? How can I understand what's really happening in this situation? How can I understand what's happening with me, what's happening with this other person? And how can I free myself from these fears or limitations or my conditioning, the things that I grew up with that are holding me back, and really become who I'm meant to be and do what I'm meant to be here on earth, do what I'm meant to do here on earth.
I love it. And, let's talk about this now from the collective here, hacking the hero's journey, right? When we're talking about how each of you have come together, unified in a sense, in a way that many people are out in the world struggling to be. It used to be we were kind of independent. We knew we just had to, just suck it up, move forward. And now there's a shift, a change, this notion that we can do really better work in the world, if we come together as a team, as a collective, than we could do individually. Not that individually we're not, genius, right? In our own, but there's something about the coming together. And so I would love to know from each of you, and please jump in, why it was so important for you to come together. And then did you come together under a unified umbrella?
Well, I'll start with that. This is Ginny.
Yeah. Do you love these questions you got?
Yeah, I do.
Right?
Yes, thank you for those.
Oh, my God. How are we going to answer this one?
I'm just wondering. So just so you know, I do look at the questions you do send in, and I say this to everybody, and then all of a sudden I get channeled about, okay, this is what I'm really supposed to ask them.
Yeah, and you do a brilliant job.
Well, I was just thinking about you, the picture of connecting the dots when you were a kid, and usually I got the dots all connected wrong, and it looked like something that it wasn't even supposed to look like. So that's kind of the way. And so I'm always trying to get the dots so that it looks like something I can recognize. And that's been a little bit of my journey. But how I come together with Francis and Leah, actually, I had been on my spiritual journey and had gotten to this point where I felt like I needed a teacher. And, of course, I just put it out there to the universe that I think I need a teacher to show up. And a week later, I was at an event, and Francis was there speaking, and he was sitting at the table I was at, and I heard him telling someone that he was a tarot master, and I immediately knew that he was my next teacher, which is very interesting because I grew up in a very religious family. My grandfather was a minister, and so to think about doing the tarot would be like, well, you're going to go to hell for sure.
Right.
So for me to actually get this intuitive knowing that I was going to learn the tarot from this person, that was a little crazy for me. But the thing I know about the hero's journey is that we have mentors that show up along the way, and that is part of the journey. And being able to recognize that, even sometimes when it doesn't look the way we think it's going to look, and we sometimes are even pushed up against our old belief systems, but being able to recognize that this is your next mentor on the journey is a really important part of the journey.
Really important part of the journey, and really important in a way that's hard to describe sometimes. And this is really kind of the conversation around this, right? It's like we go through this process when we work with folks that are doing a radio show, like we're going to talk about your upcoming radio show as well. And there's this, there's this revelation that happens. My friends, I had a friend that used to say, don't worry about it, Pat, more will be revealed. And my next question is like, when? And the answer is, this would put me over the edge, right? And the answer was always. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not even the right answer for that question. When, and then you say always, what are you even talking about? Well, that was then and this is now. And so, here I'm sitting here and I don't know what I don't know, but there are some things I do know. And so that's what I'd like to ask you all about. Is there had to be a knowing. There had to be some kind of knowing of you all coming together. Now, when I say a knowing, I'm not saying, a knowing intellectually, but a knowing, a spiritual knowing. And I would love to hear from you about how that spiritual knowing / awakening was revealed to each of you.
Gosh. Okay, this is Francis.
There you go.
That knowing is something I've had with me my entire life, and it's been something that's caused a lot of friction. I also grew up in a very religious, narrow-minded Roman Catholic family back in the UK, and they were very, very strict. I went to Sunday school with the Jesuits in London, and they are extremely strict. So when I broke away from that when I was 18, and I started doing these strange things like martial arts, and which back in 1973 was almost unheard of, and Buddhist meditation, I'd never heard of Buddhism. That was breaking the mold for me. And over the years, I've really become aware of how excessively individualistic we all are. And I think the new paradigm that's coming in from the collective, I certainly feel it anyway, and I see a lot of other people around me are feeling the same thing, is about learning to, or rather relearn, how to work collaboratively and cooperatively and in harmony with other people. I think we've gone too far along the individualistic scale, and we need to learn how to balance that. It's not losing your individuality, it's maintaining your individuality, but learning to be interdependent with other people in a functional way. And I think that's the new paradigm. And so I think that we didn't choose to do this. It just sort of spontaneously happened. We kind of fell into it. And we're helping each other. I mean, I taught tarot to Leah and Ginny, and I've been teaching tarot for years, and I'll continue to do that. But now Ginny is teaching me about Kambo. So, there's an exchange going on here. And as for Leah and myself, I mean, we've been teaching stuff to each other, sometimes pleasantly, sometimes not so easily, for a long time now. And there's a beautiful alchemical interaction that happens when a couple get together, when a group get together. There's real magic starts to happen.
And I can tell you how Francis and I got together. This is Leah.
Yes.
We were friends for a couple years before we actually started a relationship, and he was in a relationship with someone else. And when I first met him, I thought, this is a nice person. He's into some cool stuff. He's into tarot. He's into astrology, which I was too. And then as I got to know him more and more, I felt more and more of a pull towards him, like an emotional pull. And it just built and built and built. And he was still in this other relationship, and I was like, okay, so it's not, I was looking for a relationship, but I thought, well, it can't be him. It's got to be someone else. And I kept having these readings from people who were like, you've just started a new relationship. It's going to be so wonderful. And I'm like, no, where is this person? Well, he finally left his other partner. It was a rather unhappy relationship for both of them. And they finally split up. And then I was like, well, let's see, does he even have the same kind of feelings towards me? And eventually I worked up the courage to say something, and it turned out that he did. But it was like this impelling force that I was trying to resist, but I really couldn't. And then with us getting together with Ginny, it's more emerged, She had that absolute knowing at the beginning that Francis was the person she wanted to study with. And then through that process, which has been 5 years now, we've gotten to know her, and it's just more and more emerged that the three of us just fit really well together. We complement each other really well. We're all on the same page with a lot of stuff, and we also have different skills, and it just kind of happened organically, I guess you'd say.
Yeah. Does any of this surprise you? Are you all surprised by this?
Yeah, actually.
Let's talk a little bit about the surprise, because, someone had said to me not too long ago, when you look back at sort of the events of your life, were you surprised? And I was surprised by the question, so I actually didn't answer it. But I want to ask you guys, are you surprised by all this, and how so?
Well, I was surprised because I'm kind of I always think of myself kind of the Lone Ranger out there just forging ahead. And, I have this idea that an ounce of action is worth a pound of theory. So I'm always kind of just bulldozing ahead, trying something new and looking at it. And I was out, I had gone to the jungle and stayed with the shaman and came back from that with my experiences and shared with Francis and Leah. And just from their reaction, it was like, yeah, that's great, but we're not ever doing that. And then when I got the message that I was going to do Cambo, it was kind of that same thing. I went and did it and came back and shared it with them, and they're like, that's awesome, but we're never doing that. But I just continued on with that. I had such a knowing that this was my path, and eventually we came up with an idea that we felt would really be helpful to other people, and which we call Cambo Complete. And with all of our skill sets, we each have unique skill sets. It does make this complete experience for people, and that's what we're really looking to do. But I'm still surprised by it. I still look back and think 6 months ago, we were just studying together every Thursday for 3 hours doing tarot, and it just emerged so quickly. And there was a while where we were like, none of us wanted to just say, this is what we're going to do and become a team. And then one day we just made a decision that this is what we're going to do. And once we made that decision, it sort of all started to happen. Then the universe kind of conspired to make it all go.
Yeah. And this is really kind of the coolest thing, right? Because now we're embarking on another journey. But it's all part of the hero's journey. When we come back, I'm going to take a short break. We come back, we're going to let folks know how to find out more about each of you. We're going to talk about what is this Cambo thing? And we're going to talk about what does Hacking the Hero's Journey plan to surprise us with in the form of an incredible radio show. And so I want to just say to everybody, I'm Dr. Pat. I'm joined by my friends. Tell everybody who you are.
Ginny.
Leah Ayley.
And Francis Ayley.
And we'll be right back with the show, folks.
Tune in to Lucid Planet Radio with Dr. Kelly Neff. This hit show will illuminate your senses and empower you beyond your daily stressors and hardships. Renowned psychologist and author Dr. Kelly will captivate you with far-reaching topics and amazing guests as you wake to the greatest version of yourself. Learn to tap into your intuitions, think critically about our world, heal emotional and psychological wounds, and follow your passions to live your dreams. The Lucid Planet. Welcome home. Visit lucidplanetradio.com for more information.
Transformation Talk Radio is dedicated to the education and awareness of Lyme disease.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Lyme Talk Radio. I'm Dr. Pat, joined here by
Dr. Nusheen Darvish.
Dr. Pat Basili and Dr. Nusheen Darvish will be bringing the most innovative, groundbreaking information, research, treatment innovations, and stories from those it affects every day.
I'm so excited to be talking about this.
We have so much to share.
Dr. Darvish and I are planning to do is connect the dots.
People suffering with all sorts of chronic diseases. It's time. It is time for them to transform.
Tune into Lyme Talk Radio and help keep our mission strong.
For the loyal listeners out there that have been listening to this incredible show on Lyme disease, we are not going to let you down. We're going to come through stronger and enrich the platform for Lyme disease awareness through Lyme Talk Radio. The message will continue, the conversations will become stronger, and the healing epic.
Do you want the freedom to spend more time with your loved ones? Travel the world? Live spontaneously? Get ready, because the Chip Justice Show is here. Hosts Dr. Pat Basili and Chip Justice can help you build meaningful success while embracing life. Living a life you love is the end game in this new, inspirational, and empowering show. Positive changes for a life you'll love. Tune in every month on TransformationTalkRadio.com and visit PositiveChangeInstitute.co for more information.
Enlightening, humorous, and compassionate. Listen live to The Kelly Ballard Show, insight and inspiration from the great beyond. Kelly is a fourth-generation medium and intuitive who covers topics ranging from grief, spirit guides, and listening to your intuition. Kelly can help you get answers and guidance from the other side with a little bit of humor and a lot of healing. Tune in to The Kelly Ballard Show, Thursdays at 1 p.m. Pacific Time here on TransformationTalkRadio.com.
This is so much fun. I get to have such a great time. I want to just tell everybody thank you for tuning us in, turning us on. If you want to find out more about us, you can definitely go to Transformation Talk Radio. That's going to be all about all of our hosts. You could go to the Dr. Pat Show. Just about every show I've ever done. There's a ton of them. We have a brand new search feature as well. Thank you guys for all the feedback that we have. And also Facebook, The Dr. Pat Show, Twitter, The Dr. Pat Show. And now what we'd love to do is let you find out, all of you listening, how you can find out about each of my incredible co-hosts today. So could we let folks know, how do they connect with you directly? What are your websites? And what are some of the upcoming, really cool events and things you've got going?
Well, that's great, Dr. Pat. Thank you so much for letting us share that with the audience. This is Ginny. I'm also a transformational life coach. And so I work with people individually. I use alchemical tarot, which was taught to me by Francis, to actually get down to some of their core issues, and then from that we learn about what their next step is. So people can contact me. My phone number is 360-319-9755. What we do collectively, though, is we do what we call Kambo Complete. And Kambo Complete is we take the sacred Amazonian medicine called Kambo, and we use that in a ceremonial way, which kind of opens up people's to transformation. And we do that, and then we also add a lot of our other tools to give a complete experience. So we use tarot in order to, again, get down to some of their really underlying issues that are sometimes not right there front and center. They don't really see it on a conscious level. And then we come up with a plan on how to work with that. And then we also do a lot of guided imagery, which helps people connect with their inner self and get the knowledge they need. And so that's really what Kambo Complete is. We like to do, we just got off of one this weekend, actually. It's a residential retreat where people come and stay for 3 days. And the transformation is just incredible. We always come off of that with a little high, too, because when people walk in that night and when they leave on the third day, they look like different people. They look 10 years younger, and they just look so incredible. And it just helps them to continue on their journey. We help to relieve some of the blocks that has kept them stuck on this hero's journey, and this just helps them to continue to move forward. So if you want information on that, you can go to our website, which is www.kambokiss with Ks.com, or you can go to our Facebook page, which is Kambo Kiss.
I love it. Who wants to go next?
Francis and I are sitting here pointing at each other.
I actually knew that.
Okay. What we're doing with the Kambo is pretty unique. I'm privileged to be able to offer the kind of insight and wisdom that tarot provides. It brings truth into people's lives, and the Kambo is a phenomenal tool for breaking free of restrictions and limitations and stepping into more wholesome patterns. But sometimes the Kambo by itself is not enough actually to complete that process. And with the psychotherapy training that I got in the UK, and combining that with tarot and astrology, and the clarity that those tools bring, it's very much a complete package. There's something very holistic about it. It touches several different parts of your psyche, so it's a very complete kind of experience. And yes, it's amazing to see people at the end of the 3-4 days. They look completely different, and they are more connected. I also offer a 1-year tarot training. It's my standard introduction to tarot course. I have some students who just do it over and over and over again, but I actually have a second and a third year. So when I teach tarot, I actually teach like it comes from your core. What I actually teach is people how to make contact with those archetypal powers through the images on the cards. And that's much deeper than people usually go with tarot. Most people learn the interpretations from books and then try to do readings, and then they usually get stuck at that point. What I do is much deeper. I take people on this journey to discover the tarot right from their soul, right from their core. And I teach people how to do readings from that place. So it's a process. You can't learn it in 3 days. But the introductory course is 1 year, and I'm starting a new group sometime end of September, beginning October. And you can find out about that by going to Leah and my website, which is Core Truth Institute, CORE, coretruthinstitute.com.
Wow, awesome. Thank you. Thank you. And you're right. I mean, some things you just can't learn in a 5-minute online course. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So who's left?
Me, Leah. Yeah. Well, I'm very excited to bring my skills to Cambo Complete. I've been working with people, helping them to transform for many, many years now. And after I left the UK and Francis and I moved here, I decided to go into hypnotherapy because I wanted a way of getting the same kind of transformation for people, but in a shorter space of time. Because psychotherapy, the psychotherapy I was doing, which was very process-oriented, we did a lot of Gestalt and guided imagery, and it really worked, but it took an extended period of time for people to see changes. So I'm finding that with using hypnotherapy now as well, and bringing in a connection with a higher consciousness for the people that I'm working with, helping them to make that for themselves, it really accelerates their progress. And it still takes time. It's not an instant cure, but it makes the whole process much more efficient. And now I'm finding with Cambo that acceleration is even more compressed. It's like Cambo is this beautiful medicine that is not necessarily an easy road. There's a challenging aspect to going through a Cambo experience, but at the same time, it helps you release so much from the physical level right on through the other levels. Whatever is next for you is what it's going to help you to release. And then bringing, internal imagery work and group processing time and all that kind of thing into the experience just helps people deepen it that much more. So that's very exciting for me. I also co-teach the 1-year course, the 1-year tarot training with Francis. And then I also do my own individual work with people using hypnotherapy in a modality that I call soul-directed therapy, where we're really helping people to make that connection with that deep source of wisdom. And then that can help to guide and facilitate the therapy.
Wow. And, this is really the conversation about why the radio show, because what a great way to really take not just your individual gifts and talents out to, large numbers of people, but also to have people tap in and really look at, wow, this is what I need today. This would be great for me. And then folks will be able to call into the show as well. I would love for you to talk about the radio show. And, and folks are going to think, what does that mean, hacking the hero's journey? Well, is that the radio show? And let's talk a little bit about the importance of getting that message across the airwaves. Ginny, do you want to start?
Well, actually, I was pointing to Leah. But I will just say a little thing, and then I'm going to pass this off to Leah.
Oh, very good.
I think why we chose the hero's journey is because everyone can relate to that so easily, because that's what we're all doing. And there's just so many steps to that, and sometimes we get stuck on one of the steps. And so in hacking that step, it kind of gives you some insight into how you can kind of take the next step. So really, hacking the hero's journey and doing the radio show is about that. People find that they get stuck in one certain area of that path, and we're hoping that we can hack that out and give some insight on how they can just kind kind of transcend that and take the next step down the path.
Yeah. People are so eager, aren't they now?
They are.
Yeah. All of us are. All of us people.
Yeah. And, I think the hero's journey is really, for those of us who are called to the path of conscious growth and transformation and spiritual development, it's really a journey from being unconscious to becoming more conscious, a journey from all of the focus being on our personality to more and more of the focus being on what you might call our soul, or that deep truth, that deep essence within us. It's a journey from just being at the mercy of our circumstances and acting out our upbringing to becoming empowered and feeling more at cause in our world. And I think that, when we get called onto that path, and for some of us, we hear the call internally and we set our feet on the path. That was more my journey. For other people, they find themselves thrown into that path of conscious growth and transformation because of their circumstances. It's as if something deeper within them is pushing them onto the path. But, things intensify when that happens. We get challenged to grow in ways that are often uncomfortable for us. We're challenged to face our fears, to get stronger in the places that we're weak, to, discipline our personality to face whatever inner monsters, inner demons we might be carrying with us. And when you're on this journey and you don't even have a map or a guidebook or someone to give you advice along the way, it's even that much harder. And so we hope that our show will help people to understand this journey. We hope that people will be able to relate to the different stages and maybe relate them to different stages in their life. And also that, the idea of hacking the hero's journey, what we really want to do is help people to know what the important thing is to remember and to understand about each stage when you find yourself there. It's kind of like, there are a lot of fairy tales where, there are three brothers and somebody's sick or there's some disaster. They have to find something. They have to, heal something. And they go off. Well, the first one goes off on a journey and meets the wise woman or the wise old man and gets a message, go past this. Don't go to the inn in the village. Just go right past. And of course, they go to the village. They're hungry. They're thirsty. They go to the inn and they get completely waylaid and distracted and they never finish the journey. And eventually the second brother goes out and gets the same message, does the same thing, gets completely waylaid and never finishes the journey. And then the third brother goes out, gets the same message and actually pays attention to it, gets through the village, gets past the inn, completes the journey, brings back the elixir, sometimes is able to rescue the other two brothers on the way back. And they all go home and, whatever needs to be healed is healed. Whatever needs to be transformed is transformed. And nothing is ever the same. And we're hoping to be that wise woman or that wise man or that animal on the journey that gives you the one piece of information that you really need when you're at that stage in order to make it through successfully.
Wow. When we take a look at all of this and we're just putting this together for our lives, right? There's a message that some of us are called to bring to the forefront. Other people are called to do other things in life and in the world. I want to ask each of you, from where you are today, what do you believe the most important message is to really share with folks right now? What do you think the most important message is, given who you are individually? What would that be?
That's really clear for me. I see everyone around me, or a lot of people around me, living life as if the material level of reality is all that exists, and ignoring the emotional realm, ignoring the spiritual realm, and paying very little attention to the mental or intellectual realms. I was privileged to train with a Taoist master for 10 years. I trained in martial arts and several other Taoist arts. And one of the things that I really learned, it was pummeled into me, it really kind of sunk in, is that we have 4 bodies. We don't have just one physical body. We have a physical body, we have an emotional body, and for the Taoists, that emotional body is just as real and as tangible and important as the physical body. And we also have a mental body and a spiritual body. And these bodies interpenetrate and they affect each other. I mean, how you feel affects how you think and what happens to you physically. So if there's one message, one signpost I'd like to put put out there, and that I'm hoping to expand on that teaching in the hero's journey in everyday life when we do the radio show, is to give people a broader perspective. You know, you're not just this physical body in this one lifetime. You know, you are a multi-dimensional being with several different layers. And those other layers, the spiritual, the emotional, are just as important as the physical.
And for me, the message I want to give right now is that every single part of us has a powerful, positive energy at its core. So many times I think we feel, that there's these problematic thoughts or feelings or parts of ourselves that want things that are uncomfortable or inconvenient or that are manifesting in some kind of distorted or damaging or destructive way. And we think we've got to get rid of those parts. We think we've got to just change them and make them different. And actually, every single part of us, no matter how problematic it may seem, actually has a very powerful, positive energy and quality at its core. So the key is not to try to get rid of parts of ourselves, not to try to force them to be different, but to acknowledge where they're at, to accept them as they are, and to engage in whatever kind of healing process we need to bring that part into balance, and then integrate it within ourselves and discover that gem, that gift that part of us has to give. That's the message that I would give right now.
Well, I'm going to be the rebel of the group, I'm sure.
Oh, yay.
There has to be one, right?
Yeah.
And for me, it's about radical transformation. And radical being somewhat the operative word, because we get stuck in these little cycles and our comfort zones, and this is the way it has to be because this is what culture's telling us that it has to be, and we get stuck in that. And really, sometimes the only way to get out of that cycle is to do something radical, something so outside of ourselves, because it's really a way of facing our fears, and our fears do keep us in a little box. And so I'm about radical change. I'm about get outside of yourself. Face your fears. We're here to experience this life. And so experience it. We can theorize all day long, and we can read books and study, because I've done all that. But it wasn't until I actually got out there and started experiencing all these things that I actually had the radical change I was looking for. Because, well, in some ways that takes you out of the headspace that we get stuck in, which I can get stuck in very easily. So I had to just get out there and do it, experience it. And yeah, it's a little, it'll stretch you.
Yeah.
But it also is living an exciting life. And I feel alive when I'm out doing that. Most of the time we're just going through our day and we don't feel alive. We just are just doing what we do every day. But when I'm out there pushing those boundaries and facing my fears, I feel alive. And I want to feel alive.
Here it comes. So I got to ask you though, what has been your most recent radical boundary pushing thing?
Well, I know you know the answer to this, because I went and experienced Cambo back in February for the first time, and I knew instinctively that this is what I was meant to do. And so I then ended up going to Poland in July for 2 weeks and became a Cambo practitioner. And that was in itself pushing every comfort level I had to the very max. And so now I really want to help other people with that experience because this medicine is just so beautiful. Because of my own experience of being stuck in my headspace all the time, I really needed something radical to bring me into my heart space. And Cambo did that for me. So I really feel like this is something that can help other people, because our society tells us we should be in our head. We should be linear thinkers. We should be productive oriented. And that's where a lot of pain and suffering comes from. So bringing people from that headspace to the heart space using this beautiful medicine is really my passion now.
I love it. Now, if there may be folks that don't know what Cambo is, and maybe if they do, probably, it'd be good to just mention a little bit to folks about what that is.
Well, Cambo comes from the Amazonian giant tree frog. These frogs sweat this, they call it a milk, and the shamans there collect it, and they make little gate entries on the skin, and then they put the Cambo milk on there, and that goes through our lymphatic system. And then generally we have a purge. And I find this to be such an intelligent medicine. It just seems to know what to purge. And when people have that purge, they literally let go of something that's inside of them, because we carry all this stuff in our body. Like Francis was saying, that we are not just our physical body, we are all these other things. But a lot of those thought processes and emotions get stuck in our body. And so this is a way that we can actually purge those out. I always think of it as that we have emotional and spiritual issues, and that we have created all these veils over them. And sometimes we can't see what those are. We experience them, but we're not really sure where they're coming from, what they are. And so Cambo kind of opens up that veil so we can actually look at them and then do the work around them, because it's not a magic cure. There's still work to be done, but it certainly does accelerate the process.
Wow. Well, I have to say, what a great show. I mean, there's so much happening. And I know we've got about, 3 or 4 minutes left. What I want to do is I want to ask, I want to kind of go around and ask you what your personal message is, what you'd like to leave people with. And as you do that, please let them know how to find out more about you. Francis, you want to go first?
Sure. My personal message is learn to live life to the full. And my mobile number is 360-303-4169.
Oh, thank you.
My personal message, I think, is that there is always a way through. I have found this in my life, that sometimes you get to a point where you just cannot see how you can get through something. But there is always a way through. There really is. And the other thing that I want to add to that is that we're not on this journey alone. And sometimes it feels like we are. It took me many years before I could actually speak to my guides and have them answer me. But when I finally got to that point, I realized that they had been beside me every step of the way, and they had heard every single thing I had ever said to them in every state of distress that I went through. They had heard it all, and they had been there with me supporting them, even though I couldn't sense them at the time. So we really don't do this journey alone, and you can ask for help if you need it. And it's when you do that with a really open heart, it's truly amazing the kind of things that can show up.
Oh, nice. Thank you. All right, we've got one more to go here.
Right. Well, my message always is about radical transformation. Mm-hmm. And I'm a lot like Francis, that we're meant to experience life. Mm. So experience it, because that's where our transformation comes, is in actually facing those experiences that scare us, and just taking a look at what's going on inside of us. I'm one to really want to take a look at that, because I know that that's going to be of great benefit to me down the road. So I encourage everybody to just look for that radical change within themselves. It's there, and it can happen, and there are people who can help you through that radical change, and tools such as Cambo. So if anyone wants to get a hold of me, I like to direct them to Cambo Kiss, which is www.cambokiss.com, or to my Facebook page, our Facebook page, Cambo Kiss, and you can message me.
Mm-hmm. And that's Cambo with a K.
Cambo with a K.
Yes. Wow. What a great show, everyone. I want to thank you all for what you do, and very excited about the upcoming radio show that we're, going to be broadcasting here. Did we tell folks when it's the time it's going to be on?
No, it's going to be on Wednesdays at noon.
On Transformation Talk Radio. You guys, thank you all for tuning us in, turning us on. Benny, thank you again, pushing all the right buttons, making things happen. I love it. I want to thank all of you out there. And as I said before, we've got lots coming your way. And believe it or not, Benny, the revival of, wait for it, crust busting. We'll see you next time.
Saved. Tides that I tried to swim